Good morning, welcome to NMS. Today we're going to talk about what is fibre maxing and can it improve your health. Now, fibre maxing is this cool social media trend where people aim to significantly increase their dietary fibre intake above average, often using whole foods such as legumes, seeds, fruits, grains, fibre supplements or powders. This is obviously aimed to improve gut health, satiety, weight management, lowering cholesterol and improving blood sugar response. So it can be a good thing. Normally the recommended fibre intakes is somewhere around 10 grams of fibre per 1,000 calories per day, or a minimum of probably about 20 grams of fibre per day. People doing fibre maxing are aiming for 30 to 50 grams per day, and some say that 70 grams per day is sort of more of an upper limit that they push, but it can be problematic, especially if the increase is sudden or without proper hydration. There is no universally agreed upper limit, but if you have bloating, gas, or changes in bowel habits, obviously you're probably going to need to adjust your fibre. Does fibre have benefits? Of course it does. Evidence suggests that fibre lowers risk of all-cause mortality, cardiovascular disease, some cancers, improved metabolic health, better bowel regularity, but benefits can actually plateau, and I have actually seen people overdo fibre and actually have constipation from it. So you've got to be careful with it. So what are the risks of massive increases? Okay, gastrointestinal upset, bloating, gas, cramping, changes in bowel habits, loose stools, sometimes diarrhea or constipation. Okay, so you can actually have problems with going too much, or you get constipated from too much fibre. Interference with absorption, such as minerals like iron, calcium and zinc. Some medications can actually be affected by it. That fibre-rich foods displace other necessary foods. In other words, what you're doing is, rather than actually having enough protein, fats and so forth, you're eating far too many fibre-rich foods. People with GI conditions such as active inflammatory bowel disease, strictures, prior surgeries, risk of obstruction, should obviously be careful with how much fibre they intake and how quickly they increase it. So how do we need enough fibre safely? Increase fibre gradually over days and weeks. Drink plenty of fluids with your fibre. Spread fibre intake across meals. Use a variety of fibre sources that contain soluble and insoluble fibres. Fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains and seeds. If digestion becomes uncomfortable, reduce fibre and sources. Ensure overall diet is balanced as well as with fibre. So basically, guys, in summary, the recommendations intake for many adults is probably somewhere around 25 to 38 grams per day, but it does depend on how many calories you're having, your age and your sex, and also obviously conditions to do with fibre. Many people don't consume enough fibre, so looking at this can actually be a good thing. Fibre maxing increases fibre to around 30 to 50 grams per day, but look, I'm suggesting if you're trying to eat 50 grams per day and you haven't been eating 50 grams per day, it's going to cause a lot of bloating. So be really careful with it. Watch, obviously, things like seeds. Legumes can be a little bit problematic, so be careful of legumes. A little bit of legumes, some salads, some vegetables. Maybe throw in some, insoluble fibre sources from wheat and so forth, or rice. Okay. If done slowly with good hydration, it can be a very good thing. You can overdo it, especially suddenly, and there is a lot of fermentable fibre, or when hydration, nutrient balance aren't maintained. So if you've got fermentable types of fibres, you've got to be really careful with those. Guys, when I've done my contest prepping sort of diets, and I've increased the amount of vegetables I have, I've got to be really careful that I don't increase my vegetables too much. So sometimes I actually have to keep my my rice and potatoes higher to keep me going to the toilet. And if I overdo the cruciferous vegetables like broccolis, cauliflowers and so forth, it can actually block me up, even if I'm drinking a lot of water. So fibre is good, but you've got to watch that if it starts to cause a problem with constipation or overly going to the toilet, diarrhea, going 3 or 4 times a day, maybe you're overdoing it. Maybe you have to also play around with the types of fiber that you eat. Thanks for listening, guys. Like, comment, and share. If you really like my videos, guys, subscribe to my channel. I'm doing more of these useful videos so that people can actually sort of get an idea of what's going on in the fitness world, and also get an explanation of what the different fitness trends can and can't do for you, and where they may be beneficial and where there may be problems. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you in the next video.